Greetings from Tokyo. My name is Daisuke Beppu, and please let me borrow a few moments of your time, if I may, for I'd like to talk very briefly about some comments and some questions that I've received from viewers on YouTube. So I'd like to spend today's video just really quickly to answer a couple of questions, or actually a few questions actually, from a number of viewers who have been really kind and considerate and really engaging with respect to some of the comments and questions that have been left behind. I've been really impressed. I've learned a lot, and I've learned to be more, how shall I say, whenever I'm asked an interesting question, I always try to think, oh, that's interesting. Where, from what kind of perspective is that question coming from, and how can I better appreciate and understand that particular perspective? And so you can imagine how enlightening and illuminating and potentially very mind-expanding it can be. Even just one simple question can be really fascinating, and I love to think about it. So let me just start really quickly by saying hello to Matt from Neon Nights. Matt, hello, and I must apologize to you, my dear, dear friend. I'm very sorry. From the outset, you made a comment and suggestion about making videos about the films of John Carpenter and Mario Bava, Lamberto Bava, and Lucio Fulci, amongst others. And I haven't forgotten. The reason why I haven't performed or made a video about any of those yet is just simply time. I just don't have the time right now to make a video at this very moment. But I haven't forgotten it, and also I do want to let my thoughts just simmer a little bit more before I make a video in haste. So if you don't mind, let me just take a little bit more time to think about it more carefully, and I will try to get back to you in earnest with something which hopefully will have a little bit more substance to it. In particular, I'm very keen on John Carpenter's films, and so I don't want to do a sort of half-assed like a response video about what I think of John Carpenter. Oh, I think he's great, blah, the end. No, I don't. I really want to spend time to think why I think he's great and why his films, I believe, are worthy of great merit and attention and continual discussion. So Matt, for that reason, I really ask your patience, and please wait a little bit longer for me to perform those videos, or to make those videos. But I will not forget, I promise. I promise. Next is for Ben. I'm going to have to do my best here. I'm really sorry about this. Vanasse, Ben Vanasse. If I mispronounce that, I'm really sorry. It's Ben Vanasse, I think. If I'm wrong, please let me know. Anyway, Ben, you had asked about me making a video about John Woo. Now, this I think was in response to a video that I had made about my favorite, or some of my favorite titles from the Criterion Collection that were OOP, or out of print. And Ben, you mentioned John Woo because I did not address the John Woo films from the Criterion Collection, those being The Killer and Hard Boiled. I didn't mention those. So I am planning to return to more substantive comments about OOP titles in the Criterion Collection, and The Killer and Hard-Boiled are going to be included amongst those. So again, with those, just let me, again, just give me a little bit more time to make sure I've gathered my thoughts with clarity and without any fluff. So again, with this one as well, I ask for your patience, but I will address that point and other OOP titles in earnest and with substantive discussion, fingers crossed. Thank you very much for your comments, by the way. They are really fantastic. Ben, you also asked me about who is, which director I thought, which significant director who is not currently in the Criterion Collection do I think deserves to be in the Criterion Collection? It's a really interesting question by Ben. And it's a really hard question because if I mention one name, I immediately want to mention 10 more. And so it's a little bit hard. But if I were to say any names, it would probably be from Japan, maybe Naomi Kawase, Takeshi Kitano, maybe also from the US or from North America, Ida Lupino for sure. From France, Jean Eustache, although I think there's a rights issue with that. Oh yes, and I just happen to be sitting next to the DVDs, but I would love to have Criterion release this film, Chiesi Chu, or West of the Tracks. This is by Wang Bing, and this is a documentary, a Chinese documentary. It's probably one of the greatest documentaries I've ever seen. It's incredibly powerful. This is the Japanese DVD I have, and here's a European DVD, or DVD set, I should say. The director's name is Wang Bing, and the name of the documentary is Chieshichu, West of the Tracks. If you're interested in this particular DVD release, this is by Tiger Releases, and I purchased this. I think from Amazon UK. I'd love to see Wang Bing in the collection, the Criterion Collection. But again, those are just a small sampling. I'm sure there are many more. I'd love to hear who you think should be included in the Criterion Collection. Oh, of course, I think also John Carpenter and Dario Argento should be given some attention in the Criterion Collection, for sure. And also, please let me know who you think should be included. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. It'd be really interesting. Anyway, Ben, cheers. And again, please let me know how to pronounce your name if I've mispronounced it. I really apologize. Next, to ComicBook Ninja. ComicBook Ninja, you were making some comments to me about in regards to a video I made. I think it was the video I made about the Criterion Collection Laserdisc collection of mine. So thank you very much for looking at that. I really appreciate it. I feel so bad that it's so long. I think it ended up being about an hour and 15 minutes or so, which is like a little film. I mean, I'm so sorry. I mean, that's an hour and 15 minutes of your life that you could have spent watching a film instead of watching my little video. So I really apologize, but thank you so much for watching anyway. I really appreciate it. Anyway, you asked 2 questions, so let me answer the second one first. You were asking about The Princess Bride, the latter release, as you say, and so this is the spine number 320 release of The Princess Bride. I hope this is the one that you were asking about. Okay, so that's the back, and you were asking about what it features, and so so obviously it features the film with its aspect ratio being 1.85 to 1, and with Dolby surround sound. And for the audio track information, the digital tracks set forth the original film soundtrack. And then on analog track 1 sets forth Rob Reiner reading excerpts from William Goldman's novel The Princess Bride. And then analog track 2 sets forth audio commentary by Rob Reiner, William Goldman, etc. It's really interesting. And then you have the other extras being behind the scenes sort of footage of The Princess Bride, and you also have a scrapbook kind of slideshow, sketches slideshow, and also it's other similar, let's see, Morton and Hayes excerpt, William Goldman's Tapestry, etc. And then you have an essay, let's see, an essay excerpted from 4 screenplays by William Goldman in the inner gatefold layout. This is a really good release, I think most of all because of the commentary. Now, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know what the history is of this film beyond the Laserdisc release. In other words, I don't know what kind of releases this film has experienced on DVD or Blu-ray nowadays. But I'm sure, if you're asking about this film, I'm sure that means that you're a fan, and probably you own the DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, and you probably know more about that than I do. If so, I'd love to hear any information that you have. If you have any recommendations as to what particular version I should get or what particular release I should get of this film. At the moment, I have the Criterion releases only on Laserdisc, but this has always been a very reliable release, especially this particular spine number 320 release of The Princess Bride. But if you have any information, or anyone out there has any information about any good DVD release or Blu-ray release, please let me know. Anyway, ComicBook Ninja, I hope that answers your question. You also asked another question about how long I have been collecting the Criterion Collection Laserdiscs. And the answer to that question is, I guess very simply, for some years. I actually began to, well, let me take that back. I got my first Criterion Collection Laserdisc several years ago, actually. Sometime after I graduated college. I just got one, I think it was in a flea market somewhere, and I just bought it because it was cheap at the time. It was only, must have been, maybe, I was in the US, and it must have been about, maybe $3 or something. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. And I didn't think much of it afterwards. It was a very, it was La Strada, by the way. And but unfortunately, I discarded that particular copy, quite foolishly, in fact, because I had been moving a lot, and I think it got lost in the shuffle. And then I actually made an interesting discovery. I didn't quite realize this until much later, but my father actually had, not a lot, but he had quite he had a number of Laserdiscs, and amongst them he had a few Criterion titles. So that was very interesting. And after I found out about that, he said that he had been interested in them, but he wasn't watching them at all because he didn't have a Laserdisc player. And so that sort of sparked or re-sparked my interest in collecting Laserdiscs of the Criterion Collection. And so about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I would say, I really began to want to collect them in really just intensely, and with the hope of getting all of them. And so, I've been seriously collecting them for about almost 5 years, I would say. So maybe not so long in the whole grand scheme of things, but it's been pretty intense for a number of reasons, not least of which being that I live in Japan, and for most of the purchases I've had to rely on sellers in the United States or in Europe or Canada. And so it's been quite an interesting journey, if you can imagine the sort of the slings and arrows, as it were, of the worries and the trials and tribulations of shipping overseas, especially Laserdiscs. And sometimes people are not always so careful in packing Laserdiscs. So there were quite a few sad things that happened along the way. And then I ended up becoming complete in terms of my Criterion Collection Laserdiscs this past June, after I had made a final rush of purchasing my last final remaining titles. So I became properly complete, as it were, in June. Although there are still a few places in my collection here and there that I'd like to supplement or add more releases to. So there are a couple that I'm still looking for, and hopefully I can find them. But in the meantime, I can say that generally speaking, I am complete. So thank you very much for that question. I hope that answers it. But if you want to talk more with me, Comic Book Ninja, please feel free to comment, or if you're on Facebook, PN me anytime. I'd love to talk to you more. It's great. Next is SJS Films. So SJS Films, you sent me a comment just very recently, I think a few hours ago, about a video that I had done about the non-numbered boxes, etc., from the Criterion Collection. So thank you so much for your comment. I really appreciate it, SJS Films. I think it's really great and welcome. And I think I haven't looked at it quite properly yet, but I believe you also have a channel where you show your Blu-rays and your love of film and your really, I think, a really fascinating collection that you own. So I look forward to looking at your videos. I think it's really fascinating. You asked also about how I feel about two films that you said were your favorites or amongst your favorites. So those films being Harakiri and Paths of Glory. So let me address Harakiri first really quickly. I don't want to spend too much time now. Maybe I should spend a proper amount of time, the amount of time that is due to these great films, maybe in a separate video. But if I were to say something quick about each of them now, it would probably be, so for Harakiri, whose original Japanese title is Seppuku, how should I put it? I mean this in the best possible way. It is one of the most infuriating films I've seen. And when I say infuriating, I mean brilliantly infuriating. It's the kind of feeling of infuriating agitation that makes one want to, it just makes one re-examine the whole power structure and the political structure, and it's quite it is an infuriating and brilliant film, and led by the wonderful physical, brutish, rough, and yet sensitive performance by the great Tatsuya Nakadai. I think it's probably, for my money, of the films I've seen with Tatsuya Nakadai, it's probably, I think it's his best performance. Would you not agree? There is a wonderful combination of, as I say, sensitivity and earnestness, filled with a sense of a nihilistic futility and a rage that is, it just cuts right through the whole veneer and falseness of this whole thing we call honor, and this whole charade and sham, and just cuts through it, and just so yeah, it all is, it's a brilliant film, but it's made even more brilliant by the brilliance of Tatsuya Nakadai, that's for sure. But let me speak to that film more, and maybe, if you don't mind, maybe you can share your comments about that film with me as well. I did actually see that film in the theater in New York many years ago. I was fortunate enough, I was living in New York at the time, and Tatsuya Nakadai actually came, and it was amazing. I couldn't believe that he was there. It was a small theater, and I was sitting in the fourth row, and he was just, it was amazing. And he was of course he was elderly, but he was not showing any signs of being frail. He was still very strong, physically speaking, and he had a wonderful presence. And it was one of the great theater experiences I've had in my recent times as a film goer. Oh, Paths of Glory. I'm so sorry. I said I'd just spend a little time, but here I am. I apologize, SJS Films. Paths of Glory. Again, I should spend more time in a separate video to do it justice, but this is also very infuriating, incredibly infuriating, in the best possible way, right? And I think for me, it all hangs around the central performance of the great Kirk Douglas as Dax. It's just, Dax is probably my favorite character in all of Kubrick's films. Would you not agree? I mean, he is very, maybe, I don't know if noble is the right word. I'm not sure if forthright is the right word, but he has a sense of justice that you so want to support, and you so want to see him succeed. And there is a great tension, because that he is very intelligent, so he of all people knows what the situation is, and yet he still fights the good fight, does he not? Yeah, Dax, I think, is probably my favorite character in all of Kubrick's canon, and that is reason enough for me to agree with you that Paths of Glory is. It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. Gosh, you make me want to make a video about Paths of Glory and Harakiri now. Oh man. Anyway, I'm sorry. I should stop there, because I'm going to spend more time than I think is that I can afford at this particular point in time. I apologize, but yes, I will. Return to Paths of Glory and Harakiri as well. And in the meantime, SJS Films, if you don't mind, please share with us more thoughts about those films, and also other films that you think also are your favorites, and why you think they are your favorites. I love to hear this stuff. This is really great. And I'm so sorry for being so ill-prepared with my comments about these two films. But again, I just ask for your patience, and just let me ponder my thoughts more, so that I can provide something more streamlined and something more thought out than what I'm saying right now. So it's just, but I think you get the picture, or the impression of what my feelings are of those two films. Anyway, SJS Films, cheers from Tokyo. Next is Mr. Steve Vincent Furness. Steve, thank you very much for your comment. I think you wrote comment to me about the video I did regarding it was the my like 10 of my favorite Laserdisc titles. And so you wrote a really long, wonderfully thought out comment. I love the way you write, by the way, Steve. I just you have such a great writing style. It's so well organized and thought out and clear, and it has a nice through line. I think it's great. You are a really great writer. And if that was written just off the cuff, oh gosh, more power to you. And you also mentioned that you disagree slightly about John Waters and about anime. Thank you so much. As much as I love comments about people agreeing with me, I so much love comments about people disagreeing with me. I think those are the best kinds of comments. John Waters as an example. Your comment about John Waters, and there's also other people. I think Robert was mentioning about John Waters maybe not being his cup of tea as well. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, so I perfectly understand. However, yes, so those comments help me to reevaluate John Waters and to reevaluate exactly why I, in fact, like John Waters. So, yes, if you disagree, please keep those comments of disagreement coming. I really appreciate it. It would be so great. And Steve, it's so great to see you again. I don't think you've been gone too long, but even if you've been gone a day, I notice, and I really miss you. so please grace us with your presence, and I look forward to more videos by you on your channel and also your podcast, whatever podcast endeavors you are thinking of now and in the future, and anything else. My dear friend Steve, thank you so much, and I look forward to talking with you some more. Okay, so the next set of questions I have is from Lindsey Nordberg. Lindsey, hello. Thank you for watching these videos I've been making. I really appreciate it. And you wrote some really nice questions to me, I think a couple days ago. I think it was to a video that I made about additional viewer questions that I had received. I think I made that maybe several weeks ago. So thank you so much. So let me just address some of the questions that you gave to me right now. So number one, you said, in your previous video, you mentioned you went to university in the US. So I was wondering what you majored in, what university you went to, etc. So I went to university in the United States. I was in Connecticut, and I went to Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut. And I graduated many years ago. And I was majoring in history, but I did take a lot of film studies courses at the time. Oh, then you ask, have you ever been to Washington State? Given that you speak so highly of Fire Walk with Me, I was wondering if you have been to Snoqualmie Falls or any of our national forests. And you also mentioned that you heard David Lynch give a talk, which is really cool. That is so cool. So to answer your question, no, unfortunately, that's one of the great regrets I have, is not making time to visit Washington State. Snoqualmie Falls, oh gosh, I'd love to go there. Oh man, gosh, what I wouldn't give to be able to go there, man. Oh, you are so lucky if you live in Washington. Oh, I'm so jealous. I am so jealous. Number three, given that you seem to have such a busy life, how do you make time for film? Even as an undergrad and working part-time, I have struggled to find time with film as much as I'd like, besides in the summer. I worry that once I start grad school around a year from now, that I'll struggle with this even more. Also, do you have Letterboxd? So to answer that last question, yes, I do have Letterboxd. And when I read that question, I did a search for you, Lindsey, and so I think I've push the follow button for you on your Letterboxd account as well. So if you find that, that will be me, D Beppu, I think, D Beppu. So my first name's initial D and then my last name, Beppu. So yes, so please, if you're interested, please follow me back. There's no pressure, you don't have to do that, but if you're interested, that's perfectly fine. I've just started Letterboxd maybe like 2 weeks ago, so I'm still not used to how it works fully, but I'm doing the best I can. What was this? Oh yes, so you said, how do you make time for film? That's a really interesting question. I think it's, I'll be perfectly honest, I don't have that much time for film myself. I'm not so young as I used to be, and now I have a family and I have 2 children, and I also have to work, so it's not, I don't have as much time as I did when I was younger. So I can completely sympathize with the dilemma and the issue of not having enough time to watch all the films that one wants. I should also add, though, that I am embarrassed to say that I don't go to the cinema that much anymore, and as a result, I don't see a lot of the modern films. So, for example, I haven't seen Moonlight yet. I haven't seen La La Land. I haven't seen The Shape of Water yet. Oh gosh, I haven't seen the Blade Runner sequel yet. I really want to, but it's just not so. It's not as easy for me, because of the time issue. So I don't know, but I don't know. At the same time, I don't feel too much pressure about it, Lindsey. I guess because when I was younger, I felt the need to want to watch many films as much as possible within a short amount of time. So like a film a day or 2 films a day or something like that, which I think is very admirable, especially if one is younger or if one has the stamina and sort of the intellectual capacity for that kind of rigorous schedule. But for someone like me, especially now, who doesn't have that level of stamina or that level of intellectual competence, I think even watching a film a day is very difficult. But that being said, I do try to watch a film a day, or maybe a couple films, 3 films a week. And also I try to spread them out as much as possible. In other words, I don't think it's, for me anyway, I'm not worried about not watching as many films, and the reason is that gives me more time to think about the films that I have already seen, and therefore to be able to process them more. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's become something that has helped me to feel more at ease with not being able to watch as many films than I'm used to. So in other words, not watching as many films now means you can focus on the films that you've already seen and that have already left their mark and impression upon you. And then maybe that can lead to some more thoughts and ideas and more considerations that can be made about those films. It's a really interesting exercise. And then your last question is, do you have any film attractions, museums, or other types of film experiences you find particularly interesting or important that are in Japan? That is a fantastic question, Lindsey. Really great question. So great, in fact, that you've given me the idea for another video. I should make a video about the film-related attractions or sites that I think are really worth going to in Japan or in Tokyo. So if you don't mind, I will try to make that into a separate video. But thank you very much, by the way. I will do that as soon as possible. I do have a couple ideas, yes. Gosh, Should I say a couple now? I mean, it's already what? It's already over 30 minutes. Oh gosh. All right, I'll give you a couple now, and I'll give you some more in a separate video. So there's a let's see. There's the temple in a place called Go-Tokuji. So that's G-O-T-O-K-U-J-I. So again, G-O-T-O-K-U-J-I. Go-Tokuji. And Go-Tokuji is very important because within the temple's compound, the premises, there's a little corner that's devoted to the mane kineko, these little white cat figurines with one of the paws upraised like so. And I don't know if you know the film Sans Soleil by Chris Marker, but you're a Criterion person and you're a cinephile, so I think you know the film. But Chris Marker made this documentary called Sans Soleil, and featured amongst the many images in that film is a little segment devoted to the mane kineko, and that segment is actually Go-Tokuji, that part of Go-Tokuji, which has the mane kineko little section there. It's a really great place, Go-Tokuji. I actually live one train station over from that place, so yeah, it's a really great place to go. And yeah, it's a film connection, and it's a Criterion film connection at that. Okay, so I think I want to end it there. So thank you very much for your time right now. I really appreciate it. And again, I'm sorry for going over like this. That's something I really have to change, isn't it? I guess the last thing I want to do is just see something on the shelf here, something that I should watch after I turn off this camera. Gosh, there's so many things I should. Wow, Paths of Glory, man, that got me going. Gosh, should I do Paths of Glory? Oh man, but I need to be in a certain frame of mind to watch that film, and I'm not sure if I'm mentally prepared. Let's see. I suppose something. Well, okay. That's a possibility. And gosh. Oh yeah, let's take, oh, that's a good one. Okay. And yeah, okay. Well, I'm just picking these because they are the on the shelves closest to me. Oh, no. That one. Okay. Okay. So maybe I think I'm going to watch one of these films after I finish, and yeah. Maybe if any of you have seen these films. I've seen them already, but I probably need to watch some of them for a rewatch. So probably going to watch either one of the versions of Mr. Arkadin, which is on this Criterion DVD, which is absolutely fantastic, by the way. Oh, Lindsey, yes, you also made a great suggestion about I should make a top 10 video or something about what I thought were the best packaging or the layouts or the covers of the Criterion collection. So I will do that. So thank you very much for that idea. I'm going to steal that idea from you if you don't mind. And I think on that list is probably going to go Mr. Arkadin, which is really great. A really great DVD release. So I think I might watch a version of Mr. Arkadin here, or probably this one, which is not a Criterion release, but it's the BFI DVD release of The Devils. This is this is probably, it is up there. If someone asked me what are your top 3 favorite films of all time, this is in the top 3, The Devils. And this is not even the full uncut version, which is a shame it's not available yet. But anyway, probably one of these two. Yeah. All right. Anyway. let me think about it some more, and I won't keep you any longer. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And yes, if you have any more questions or comments or suggestions, please let me know anytime. I respond to the comments below, and also I am found on Facebook. If you want to reach me, you can do so. Find me Daisuke Beppu. I'm usually in the Criterion themed Facebook groups. I'm also in Laserdisc Forever and some other Facebook groups as well. Also, as I mentioned, I'm on Letterboxd, though I'm not used to it yet. So if you want to try to find me on Letterboxd, please do so. Anyway, thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day. Take care. Cheers.